Hi there, MD Snyder here. I wanted to go ahead and do another reading for you. I thought I'd go back to my own poetry. So I'm going to read you 3 poems from my upcoming book, A Healthy Mind is Hard to Find. And then I'm going to give you a sneak peek at the following book that'll come out next year called Fighting to Stay in Love. I'll start with the first poem of my book, A Healthy Mind is Hard to Find. It's called Hint, Hint. How do you know when depression hits? Well, when was your last shower? And when is your next? Also, have you brushed your teeth this week? Finally, did your sobbing hit its peak? If you feel bad answering these few questions, then there's a safe bet that you have depression. How do you know when depression arrives? Well, how many times have you wanted to die? And how much napping have you done? Finally, when was the last time you walked in the sun? These are all indicators that depression is here, especially if you lose interest in what you once held dear. But fear not, because it also goes away. Slowly things get better and depression fades away. Go to therapy. Invest in yourself. I promise you one day you'll improve your own mental health. So that was called Hint, Hint. I wrote this at a time when I was trying to explain what depression is to me to some people in my hometown. And I was inspired by none other than Jeff Foxworthy. You might be a redneck if. And that's kind of my you might have depression if. So thank you, Jeff Foxworthy. The next poem I'd like to read is a short one called Drowning in a Drought. Growing up a child, drowning in self-doubt, is much like a tree growing in a drought. Anyone can see the pain in its struggle. Just see how it stands there in its own protective huddle, hunched over and bent from years of stress. But if you look closely, you see a beautiful mess. That was kind of a poem I wrote thinking about kind of how stunted I was as a child, with so much doubt in myself and kind of feeling like I was drowning without, almost like drowning with air. You just don't have any water, but it feels like you're not there. So the last poem I'm going to read from A Healthy Mind is Hard to Find is a poem with a really, I think, great illustration for the poem. It's a little ditty by the name of The Weight Adds Up. I have a daily pail of which I can collect little pieces of my day of which I recollect. I carry my pail from one moment to the next, never truly realizing its size or its heft. Through the day I sigh and sometimes start to slouch, until finally it happens. I collapse on the couch. When I set my pail down to examine what I've got, half the time it's horrid things, which often smell of rot. I wonder what encouraged me to pick up heavy thoughts. Could it be to learn a lesson? Or remember what I forgot? My pail is overflowing now with something oh so foul. I wish I knew what to do or where to run to now. I want to keep the happy things. I just don't know how. So here I sit with my nose plugs in and a very unfriendly scowl. And the illustration for that, I think it's just gorgeous. I love the girl. She's growing. She's got that pail. And those are like all of the bad thoughts that kind of pop into my mind throughout the day. And you never realize how many negative thoughts you're feeling or thinking until they all just pile up on you and see that big mountain, that big bucket, that heavy bucket that you're just carrying with you. And you wish you could set that bucket down, at least I do. It's just hard to sometimes. So here's a poem I've been thinking of a lot, and because of that, I wanted to go ahead and read it. It's coming out in a book that should be released in about a year. Right now, I am working on editing and illustrations, and I hope to get a great illustration from this one. It's called The Kraken. Alone and unwanted. How did this happen? I go to the bottom and let out the Kraken. I can't even believe what I see. I thought this was just mythology. Like sirens or spells, it scares me the same. It can't be real. I whisper in a sweet refrain. Try to forget. Try to not think. Within these waves, drift off and sink. But then, like a treacherous snake, the cold and bitterness bite. I spit out the venom hiding inside, treat him viciously, and then swim away and hide. It's like I am watching, a passenger within. I try to stop, but I fail to win. I beat him down, then steal his crown, a sudden hostile takeover. I spew out this nonsense, like how he can't care. And in a moment it strikes me. It strikes me right there. It's always me starting the fight. Crap. I must be lacking. Finally right, it's in sight. Aye aye! I am the Kraken. He the young prince, the star of the story, looking for love and fighting for glory. He thinking I some damsel in distress. Unknowingly I passed his test. See, this Kraken dwells deep inside. It's cunning and crafty and knows how to hide. But no, not now, more battles than ever. How long before he gives up his princely endeavor? How often can two fight before they realize it isn't right? Before they learn they deserve more, until he simply walks out that door. Once the crew sails away, mentally, physically, slowly, day to day. And what if instead of a bang of the door, you just hear a fizzle of what is no more? The Prince of the Ages can finish his tale, but without the young damsel, and without his chainmail. That is a poem I wrote about 5 years ago, while with an amazing human being who is now still a co-parent to our cat, kitty custody all the way. But it was towards the end of a relationship, and I realized it was an end. It was ending, and I didn't know how to end it, and he didn't know how to end it. And I still love the man. He's a great human being. He is the prince of the story. I just wasn't the princess he was looking for. Disney lies. Well, y'all, that was my reading for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some humor in some of the poetry, or at least in some of the stories behind it. Please stay safe during COVID madness. Right now, I am making face masks for my neighbors. So if there's anything you can do, running to the store, making face masks, and even just saying hi from across the street. We all kind of need a little bit of interaction right now. So do what you can to be a good person, and I'll see you next time I have a reading.